My seat was taken. First class 1A, the one I book every single time. 30 seconds after I said, "Excuse me," the cabin went quiet, heads turned, and a few minutes later, the captain herself was walking down the aisle. Sounds dramatic, I know, but what happened that day at JFK taught me something simple and sharp about power, about policy, about who gets asked to move and who gets asked to behave. I was dressed down on purpose. Charcoal hoodie, black joggers, clean sneakers, box braids pulled back so they wouldn't get in the way. Backpack instead of a roller. Terminal 4 was a living machine, that endless airport song of zippers and gate calls and the click-click of wheel bearings riding polished floors. I like that noise, it lets me disappear. People see a young black woman traveling light, and they decide things for you before you open your mouth. You know what I mean. I had a reason for 1A, not just habit. That particular aircraft carried the secure uplink my engineers helped build, a dedicated pipe we call a Therion 7. At Cruise, I had a live demo with regulators and a European syndicate, the last step in a deal that would push $5 billion into a system designed to cut through the chaos of the sky and make flights safer and smarter. No slides, no hype. A real-time walk through weather that doesn't show up on glossy brochures. So yeah, I needed my seat, my quiet, my window, my plan. Check-in was smooth. "Miss Jones, you're all set. 1A. I bypassed the lounge set by the gate with a battered Octavia Butler paperback, let her voice settle me while I counted minutes, the way nervous people count breaths. Boarding was called. I smiled at the attendant at the door, turned right, stepped into the hush and soft light of the front cabin, breathed in the scent of warm towels and lemon, and froze. Someone was sitting in 1A. Late 50s cream linen suit that had never met a wrinkle hair so lacquered, it caught the reading light. A handbag sprawled across 1B like it paid rent. She was mid-story with the man across the aisle, voice a little too loud. The performance volume that says, "I'm home here and you're an extra." I waited for a natural pause that never came, then said it the way you say it when you've been trained to be careful even when you're right. "Excuse me." She turned her head slow, did that top-to-bottom scan that tries to shave an inch off your height. "Yes. I believe you're in my seat," I said, holding up my boarding pass. 1A. She glanced, flicked her hand, dismissing me like a gnat. "That must be a mistake. I always sit here. The airline knows. Just find another seat, dear." Pattern interrupt. I did not move. "I booked this specifically," I said, voice flat, steady. "Would you check your pass, please?" She sighed the way people sigh when they want an audience, pulled her ticket. Looked for half a second. "It says 1B, but that's ridiculous. I need the window, the lighting is better for my complexion. Besides," she leaned toward her friend's stage, whispering loud enough to carry, she'd probably be more comfortable somewhere else. "These seats are for our most loyal customers. Do you think that's fair? There are a dozen ways to say you don't belong. Some hide in policy, some hide in tone. This one didn't hide. My chest did that quiet pull it does when your body remembers old lessons, but my face stayed calm. Loyalty status doesn't change seat assignments," I said. "I have 1A. I'd like to sit in 1A. That's when the young attendant hurried over. Mark, with a customer service smile that looked stapled on. "Is there a problem, ladies?" Cream linen touched his sleeve like they practiced it. "Thank goodness," she said. "This young woman is harassing me. There's been a mix-up. She's becoming aggressive." He looked at me, looked at her, looked at the tablet, scanned my pass. "Yes, Ms. Jones, you are assigned to 1A. He turned to her. "And ma'am, you are in 1B. "The system is wrong," she snapped. "I always sit here. Can't you just move her?" "There are other seats." Mark's eyes flicked up. He counted open pods. He wanted the path of least resistance, the fast fix, that gets a plane pushed back on time. I could see the math. Move the quiet passenger in the hoodie, appease the loud passenger in linen. "Ms. Jones," he said softly, to avoid further disruption, "would you be willing to take 4A instead? It's also a window. I can offer a complimentary bottle of champagne." Tiny truth. I considered it. Not because I was afraid of conflict, but because time in airports melts faster than ice, and I had a global call waiting at 35,000 feet. But this was bigger than a view, bigger than bubbles. It was the oldest question in public life. Who do we ask to bend so everyone else can relax? "No," I said, not loud, but final. "I'm not moving. I booked 1A. I have a boarding pass for 1A. I will sit in 1A. Please ask this passenger to move to 1B. Silence. Or the airport version of it, a hush under the hum. Heads tilted, eyes pretended not to look while looking. Mark's smile slipped. He called for help. Linda arrived. Senior flight attendant eyes that had counted 1,000,000 boarding passes, voice that didn't tremble. She took in the whole scene like a photo. "Ma'am," she said to Linen, "I need you to move to your assigned seat immediately. We're on a tight schedule." Linen changed tactics like a driver changing lanes. "This is outrageous. I want to speak to the captain." "That request is not small. You escalate to the captain, you move the problem from customer relations to safety and compliance." Linda didn't blink. She clicked her handset and said the words that changed the temperature of an airplane. Refusal to comply with crew instructions. Everything shifted. Wait for it. Captain Ava Rostow came down the aisle a few minutes later. Tall, composed eyes steady like horizon lines. She didn't do speeches. She verified the assignments herself, then looked at Linen with a face that had carried storms and said, "You are assigned to 1B. This passenger is assigned to 1A. Please move to your seat now." "But my status," Linen said. "Platinum Elite." "It means you fly a lot," the captain replied, cool as January light. "It does not entitle you to disregard crew instructions. Final request. Move to 1B or you will be deplaned." The word hit like a gavel. Linen moved eventually, voice dripping with injured dignity, muttering about service and reverse discrimination and how the customer, the real customer, is always right. I slid into 1A, put my backpack under the footwell, looked out at the jet bridge and exhaled. I wanted the story to end there. Rule applied wrong, corrected, wheels up. Then she said it. "Stakeholder." "Please," Linen sneered loud enough for the row behind us. She probably got a handout from whatever affirmative action program put her in this cabin. She doesn't belong here. "Mask off." The air thinned. Even the hum sounded sharp. I didn't raise my voice. I pulled my phone and tapped a favorite. The captain paused, reading my eyes. "Captain," I said. "Steady as a leveled wing, I appreciate you resolving the seat, but I won't tolerate harassment on one of my carriers. I need to make a call." "One of my carriers." Pattern interrupt. The line clicked and a voice anyone in aviation would recognize came through. "Syria, everything all right? I thought you'd be airborne." "Sorry to call you directly, Richard," I said like we were confirming a dinner reservation. "We have a delay on GS 710. Passenger in 1B refused crew instructions, continued with racially charged remarks. Captain is here with me now." Beat. Jaw tightening through a phone line. Put the captain on. Captain Rostow took the phone like it was hot. "Ava, Sir Richard Sterling said, head of the Global Skies Airline Group," and his voice turned to iron. "You have my full authority. Remove the passenger immediately. Revoke status effective now. Permanent no-fly for our carriers and partners. Am I clear?" "Yes, sir." "And Ava, ground the flight. Full security and compliance sweep. Zero tolerance means zero. Make it loud." "Understood." Click. If it were you, what would you have done? Gate reattached with a solid thud like a verdict. Two Port Authority officers stepped in with a ground operations manager named David Chen, who had a tablet and zero appetite for theater. Lennon's face drained of its last protest. She tried outrage, then tears, then pointing at me and saying, "I set her up." Yeah, that happened. The officers were firm, but not cruel, gave her the choice everyone gets in the end: walk or be escorted. She walked past the people she'd been performing for, past the curtain, past 100 faces that decided in real time what they thought about consequences. Up the jet bridge in a quiet room none of us ever want to see. They read her the new rules of her life. Status, revoked bookings, canceled citation for disorderly conduct. Compensation claims forthcoming for delay costs. Some of you are already forming opinions. Too harsh. Just right. Corporate theater. Necessary standard. Hold that thought. Back in 1A, the captain returned. "Ms. Jones," she said, measured and sincere on behalf of our crew and the airline. "I'm sorry for what you endured. We will be retraining staff starting with Mark." I looked up at the small satellite dome in the ceiling, the little crown we'd tucked into that cabin. "Captain, I appreciate you. I do. But I need a favor. The reason I insisted on 1A and on time wasn't comfort. It's our secure uplink. I have a live demonstration that requires stable bandwidth at cruise. If we miss the window, the deal gets messy." She knew the project, Nightfall, by name. She knew the number. She didn't need a speech. "What do you need?" she asked. "I need this plane in the air as fast as humanly and legally possible. Consider it done." She turned on her heel and snapped into the radio. "JFK Tower, Global Skies 710. Security issue resolved. Request immediate priority. Time critical departure." Time critical isn't a phrase you throw around. We jumped a long line, engines woke the way big animals wake, the plane pivoted, we rolled that push in your spine, pressed you back into the seat, and New York fell away like a city drawn in lights. Mini call to action while we climb. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. 10,000 feet, seatbelt chime. A tiny green light winked on my console. Link established. I jacked my laptop into the port my team had buried in the spec for exactly this use case. The entertainment screen split into live satellite feeds, data streams, pressure maps, breathing color like a living thing. On my display, our dashboard clean and quiet, built to be touched by people who can't afford to fumble. The call connected. A grid of faces. European Aviation Safety Agency officials in tidy offices, bankers in sharper suits, a director in Paris with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Ms. Jones, you're cutting it close," Director Dubois said. "We assumed a technical issue. We had a terrestrial protocol issue," I said, letting the corner of my mouth tilt. "We're airborne now, fully operational. Welcome to Nightfall's final demonstration." I took them into the weather. Not the kind you see on a phone app, the kind that lives in the seams between layers of sky. Conventional avionics showed moderate chop in 40 minutes. Nightfall cross-referenced 3 satellite layers and found something nastier brewing in 32. Micro-shear invisible until it isn't. Klaus, the Frankfurt skeptic, leaned in. "Prediction is one thing," he said, "accuracy is another." "Agreed," I said. "Watch." I ran our current route through the algorithm. Nightfall shifted the path 3 degrees north, small on a map, huge at 500 knots, bypassed the shear, and saved roughly 400 kilos of fuel. "Safety first," I said, "profit close behind. You don't have to choose." Then I broke a sensor on purpose. Killed a stream. Made the model blind in one eye. Nightfall filled the gap from context, kept the path stable, prioritized confidence over ego. Redundancy, like a religion, because the sky does not care about your plans. Halfway through my handset, buzzed with a note from the cockpit. Priority arrival granted. The cabin settled into that rare quiet where 100 people agree to be alone together. Linda drifted past 1A like a ghost, gave me a nod that said we all learned a chapter today. Your company is young, Klaus said finally, less hostile, more curious. Can you manage a global rollout this size? We were built for scale, I said. Our launch partner has already committed to retrofit their long-haul fleet based on this demonstration. If you want a verbal, Sir Richard is on standby. There's a click in every negotiation when the last brick drops into place. You can feel it even over the Atlantic. Director Dubois nodded. Provisional certification for fleet-wide testing, he said. Klaus adjusted a cuff. Our syndicate is in. 5 billion approved. Contracts by morning London time. I didn't cheer. I don't fist pump in public. I sat back for a breath, let the adrenaline settle, pictured my father's hands under a work-light grease in the lines of his knuckles, reminding me that engines matter, and rivets matter, and people matter more than both. He was an airline mechanic. He loved planes like some people love gospel. He used to say, "Every job is a safety job if you're honest." Later, Captain Rostow stopped by. Sir Richard texted one word, she said. Magnificent. And he's very sorry. Please thank him, I said. And thank you. Your decisiveness was the pivot. She hesitated. Can I ask something blunt? Sure. Why fly commercial at all? You could have a jet, a detail skip days like this. I looked out at a sky so clean it looked artificial. Because this is where the real data lives, I said. Not just numbers culture. A young attendant got spooked by status and asked the wrong person to bend. That's training. That's policy. As a partner, it's my problem too. And because my father would never let me believe I was too important to stand in the same line as everyone else. We crossed the Irish Sea at dawn. Heathrow gave us a private stand, a detail that felt like too much and exactly enough at the same time. Before I stepped off, I walked back to where Mark was rearranging a service cart like it might bite him. He looked up, swallowed. Ms. Jones, I'm sorry. I thought I was de-escalating. I know, I said. But you don't de-escalate by asking the wronged party to disappear. You apply the rule that keeps everyone safe. That's the job. I understand, he said. I believed him. He'll carry that day into every flight from now on. Maybe it saves him from making a worse call when it really counts. Now let's talk about the part that touches nerves. The consequences. Permanent no-fly. Status revoked. A grounded flight that inconvenienced hundreds so a message could be sent. Some of you will say it was too much. Some of you will say it was the bare minimum. If you let prejudice slide at the front of the plane, it slides everywhere. If you train crews to appease the loudest voice, you put quiet safety at risk. Sometimes, not always, not perfectly, but sometimes, the echo has to be loud enough for people who weren't listening to finally hear it. If it were you, what would you have done? Take 4A and keep the peace, or plant your feet and ask the system to be the system. Should airlines ground flights when discrimination happens? Or is that punishing the many for the one? Do you believe loyalty status should be revocable for behavior? Or does that feel like a slippery slope? I want to hear it all. Your stories, your counterpoints, the times you stood up or wished you had. Drop your city so I know where you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs it. And hit subscribe if you want more real stories about quiet power policy that matters and the human work of keeping each other safe. Yeah, that happened. And if we do our jobs the next time something like it starts to happen, It ends faster, cleaner, fairer.